Good morning. Happy Moon Day. Where I was just saying before the recording that, so you could focus on the moon. It's moving from Scorpio to Capricorn by the end of the week. If you wanted to look into what area of your chart that is, to focus on just the moon. But we have next week, we will have Jupiter moving into Aries, as well as Mercury going retrograde in Aries, as well as an eclipse in Aries. So I figured we'd focus on the Aries energy. And that's a little bit to do with Scorpio as well, because Scorpio is ruled by Mars, as is Aries. So anyway, we're going to start off with a blanket. If you have a yoga blanket, perfect. If not, if you have like a big towel, like a beach towel or something else that's kind of firm like that, we'll take the blanket. This is what I call blanket Tadasana. So, with the little fringe is folded like this. If you can just turn it sideways and then roll it. And we're going to start off with it just under the base. So if you wanted so that ends up being a pretty thick roll. If you wanted like a thinner one, you could just roll it the other way, the long way, and it ends up a little bit thinner. Or you could roll it any number of ways to make it the right height for you. You could also just not roll it all the way to save some space, and then you might put the outside edge up under your shoulders. So where we're going to put it is about in the middle of the mat. You want it to land kind of right at the base of your rib cage. So on the back. So some people will use the bra strap as a reference point, but not everybody is wearing a bra or wears bras. But anyway, the bra strap reference point is like the base of your shoulder blades. So we want to go below that. We want the base of the rib cage. So just these bottom couple ribs, if you could have it right there on your back and roll it to your desired height. And if you didn't roll it quite all the way, I might encourage putting the extra fabric towards your head rather than towards your feet. So you'll find the appropriate height for you as you take some time to get settled there. And so the bigger height, just kind of it might be more of a back bend. You might work with that. And so the reason for that is that's about liver height. Jupiter rules over the liver. It's also kind of kidney height. And so Aries so in the back, we would be affecting the kidneys. The more pressure you put there, right there in the back at that same level, the more you will be kind of pressing on the adrenals. And so the adrenals are these glands that are responsible for kind of firing you up, that are right on top of the kidneys. And so if you have found the appropriate height and you're now laying back over your blanket right at the base of the rib cage, so hopefully you feel, your low back might be arching a decent amount. You could kind of lift your hips up and scoot them away from your rib cage, because we don't want to be a huge rounding through the low back. We're not aiming for an anterior pelvic tilt. We want to try to tilt the pelvis towards neutral and feel the shoulder blades on the back and make the back of the neck nice and long. Your hands can be wherever. And so this is just a slight back bend, a slight opening through the front of the low ribs and belly, right about where the third chakra is. And so as you're here, can you just settle in? Can you notice, so wherever your feet are, I like mine soles of the feet on the ground. You might like Supta Baddha Konasana shape. You might like to extend your legs out, whatever feels just right for you. Can you just settle into this shape? Can you become aware of your breathing? Can you become aware of any tension in your body? Can you perhaps slow your breath to soften more deeply into this shape? So again, we're aiming for less of a back bend. So if you can notice if your low back is kind of tilting a lot, can you try and level that out? Maybe even scoot your pelvis away from your rib cage, like lift it up and scoot it away. And then as you deepen your breath, just slow your mind. Can you feel an expansion happening at your belly? And then exhale, feel a contraction happening And so you might also, as you stay here and become more still in this shape, can you notice if you feel any more movement coming into your rib cage as you breathe? Can you just try to deepen the breath and cultivate more sense of freedom and expansion through the front side of the body, the soft portion of the abdomen, the belly, as well as the rib cage, as you inhale, and feel a contraction, a turning earthwards there as you exhale. And so can you notice the sensations on your back, right where the blanket or towel roll hits? Was there a big sensation there right when you first settled into the shape? Is it perhaps softening as you find your stillness here? Can you continue to cultivate that expansion on the front side of your body while cultivating a sense of groundedness, a sense of being held and supported along the back side of your body? And can you take 3 more of the deepest breaths you've taken today here in this shape before we begin moving? So inhale, feel the belly expand, potentially also the rib cage. Exhale, can you soften on a long, deep, slow exhale? Soften any amount more, mentally, physically, or otherwise. So 2 more times, deepest breaths you've taken today, inhaling to feel from the base of the belly all the way up. So like almost even into your pelvis, feel that area expand all the way up to your collarbones. And then exhale, feel it contract. So 1 more deep, deep breath. And then on the next round of breath, you'll just return to your normal breathing and we'll find our way off the prop. So you might like to roll to one side, or you might like to just slowly push up, however you like to get off of the prop. And then we'll just move it out of the way and come back down onto our backs and just feel how that feels once you come back down onto your back, and just land for a moment. Maybe take another nice deep breath and just feel your back, what points of it are connecting with the support below you, what points are not. And then with an exhale, we'll hug both of the knees in. And so that is a little bit of a counter stretch to what we just did. So can you rock perhaps side to side, maybe take your knees in circles. And then with the next inhale, we'll bring one hand to the top of each corresponding knee and extend the knees away from the pelvis. With an exhale, we'll pull the knees in. So you can use the hands for this, pulling them in. Inhale, feel the belly expand, knees expand away from the body, but we just want to bring them to about right above the hips. So 90 degrees with the hips, 90 degrees with the knees, 90 degrees with the ankles. So exhale, knees come in. Can you feel your low back press down as you bring the knees in? And then inhale, maybe you keep the low back down or almost down. So we don't want to go for a big arch of the low back. So exhale in, inhale, expand the knees away. And so maybe you keep the hands there on the knees, or if you want to start tapping into your core strength, which is a good thing to do for Aries. So we're thinking about third chakra still. Can you exhale, knees in, inhale. As you extend the knees away, we still want to work towards 90 degrees with those knees and try to keep the low back from tilting up a lot. So exhale in, inhale away. And just move through your own round of breath there, trying to keep the pelvis from tilting a whole lot on the mat as you move your legs. So that's where the deep core strength is going to come in to hold your pelvis steady in relation to your rib cage. And then if you like to start adding circles on, you could have your hands on the knees or not. As you inhale and expand, the knees will just go out to one side and still land in that think 90, 90, 90 position. Exhale, the knees come around to the other side and back in. So you can have your hands there for a little bit of support. You could keep your hands down by your sides or extend it out to the sides. Inhale, out and around. Still landing in that nice neutral position. Exhale, out, around, and back in. Can you feel your pelvis turning perhaps to each side as you bring your knees out to one side, but try to keep, again, the low back from arching a whole lot off the mat to keep that deep core connection, to keep the spine nice and steady as you move your limbs around. And can you notice if your neck is arching a lot off the mat? Are you tilting your chin up? Can you keep the back of the neck long? And then next time you inhale, the knees come out. With an exhale, we'll go around and back in the other way. So just switching directions of the circles. Can you maintain that deep core connection? Out and around. Inhale, out and around the other way. So we're just going in the second way. And then the next time you exhale and knees come back in, you might just hug them in. You might like to rock side to side or forward and back. And then we're going to come into our meditation posture. So you might like to meditate in that same shape with the prop that we just were doing. You might like to meditate just on your back, or you might like to come seated. It's up to you. So find your meditation shape. So I would encourage for your meditation shape, something that you feel like you can maintain for the duration of the meditation. So for the sake of thinking of Jupiter and Aries, that on the prop shape, you could come back into that. Just remember it's at the base of the rib cage, not quite all the way up to the shoulder blades. We want it much lower than that, but we don't want it all the way just on the low back where it's not touching any ribs at all. So find that sweet spot right about mid-spine. And then as you settle into your meditation position, whatever shape that may be, can you find any amount more length through your spine? So if you are on the prop, that might be that you have your soles of the feet on the floor and kind of lift your hips up and scoot them away. They might not move even very much away from your rib cage, whether you're on the prop or not. If you're laying down, and you scoot your hips away from your rib cage, and you perhaps even kind of lift your rib cage up and tuck one shoulder blade under than the other and settle in, keeping the back of the neck long, whether you're seated or laying down or on the prop. Can you just cultivate as much length as possible through your spine now? And can you notice again your base? So the points of contact with support below you. And then especially notice the places of your body sort of just above, up from the ground, or the opposite way that gravity's acting. And can you sense into those places just above where you're feeling this support, and notice if you experience any tension there. Perhaps it's in your hips, around your hip flexors or the outsides of your hips. Maybe you're tensing in your heart space, the front of your shoulders. Maybe it's your brow or your jaw. Can you just scan your body for any places of tension? And perhaps just become aware of the tension first before you try to will it away or force it away. Can you just become aware of anywhere you might be holding tension? And then maybe with each exhale, you soften something mentally, physically, or otherwise to release a little bit more deeply into whatever is supporting you, trusting that you will be held, And so can you bring your awareness back to that third chakra space? So just the space between your belly button and rib cage on the front side and the back side. So if you are on a prop, it might be that the prop is right in that space. So right at your adrenals, right? So stress is good. It's getting stuck in stress. That's not so good. So can you just gently breathe in and out of this space? So maybe it is that you feel an actual expansion on the front side, perhaps also weighing a little bit heavier on the back side as you inhale, focusing the expansion right there at where your belly meets your rib cage, solar plexus chakra. And exhale, can you contract the deep core muscles, just like we did in our movement practice? Think belly button to spine. So inhale, can you feel an expansion there? Exhale, a contraction. And can you visualize what your inner fire is like, your Agni? It's right there at the solar plexus chakra. It's responsible for our digestion, as well as sort of our get up and go. And so it is right there with the adrenals. Are you sort of constantly stuck in stress mode? Adrenals just always pumping to keep you fighting or fleeing? Or are you able to, at least now, slow your breath, especially by lengthening the exhales, to settle the body, settle the mind? And as you visualize this fire here, your Agni, what is it like? Is it a steady flame? Are there lots of hot coals? Is it sort of getting blown out by the wind? Or is the wind strengthening it? Sort of the winds of change in life. Is it just a little spark? Are there sparks flying, little embers flying everywhere? What is your fire like? Could it use a little more fuel on the fire? Is it sort of puttering out and dying down? Or is it a steady, strong flame? Could it use a little more wind on the hot coals to encourage it into a steadier flame? What does your fire need? So the answer is within you. This is your inner teacher. The light of your inner teacher never goes away. It might dim, but it might dim from being covered up or from just not receiving the attention and nutrients that it needs, but it never goes away. So can you use your breath now to just sit your awareness here with your inner teacher, with this inner flame, and strengthen your connection, fuel your inner flame, and just feel that connection to your inner fire, to your divine spark, and bow to that divine spark. And you envision it becoming a more steady flame. Perhaps consider what protections this flame would need to maintain that steadiness. Is it to be fed more fuel? Is it to build barriers so that the wind doesn't affect it so much, perhaps the winds of change of life. And then can you consider, once you've brought your flame into steadiness, into where it's not explosive, but it's also not dying down. It's a steady, beautiful flame, like a candle that has, protection around it so that it's not flickering. It's just steady, strong, slow burn. What do you want to apply that slow burn to? What intention do you want to set? Where do you want to bring this fire quality, this balanced fire quality in your life? What expansion would you like to see? Where would you like to shine the light of optimism in your life? And can you let that awareness arise into an intention in your mind? Perhaps it's something along the lines of, I will bring expansion and optimism to whatever your intention is. Perhaps it's something as simple as, I bow to my inner wisdom, my inner teacher, or I trust my inner wisdom and inner teacher to guide me. And once you arrive at that intention, and you just plant it right at your center. So whether that's this solar plexus where we've been envisioning the flame, or maybe it's at your heart or somewhere else in your mind. And can you just repeat it to yourself with 3 deep breaths? So 3 times repeating it to yourself, taking your deepest breaths you've taken today, slow, intentional breaths. And then letting go of that intention or mantra, can you just perhaps put it in the fire and bring your visualization back to that flame, that steady flame right at your solar plexus, balanced flame, neither explosive nor dim. And remind yourself that this divine spark, your inner teacher, your inner light of awareness, is always there. And we can always tap into bringing it back into balance. And then we'll just let the visualization go. Come back to your awareness of your breath. How did your breath change or stay the same through that visualization practice? How do your sensations at your base feel now? Can you cultivate a sense of rootedness, a sense of being supported and held? And then whether physically or in your mind's eye, can you bow now to your heart center, perhaps head tilting down, or if you're on your back, you might just tuck your chin slightly or might not move much. And take one nice deep inhale, filling the belly, the chest, all the way up to the collarbones. Exhale and let it go. That will conclude our meditation. If you were on the prop, we'll get out of it the same way as before. You might roll to one side and just pause for a moment on your back without the prop and just feel before you return to seated or to daily life. And that concludes our meditation.